The barrier loomed ahead, a wall of swirling purple and blue energy that had confined humanity to the Milky Way since the beginning of time. Captain Ju Park stood on the bridge of the TSS Pathfinder, her hands gripping the railing until her knuckles turned white. 6 years of her life had led to this moment. "Status report," she ordered, her voice calm despite the storm of emotions inside her. "Barrier breach drive functioning at optimal levels." Engineer Hannah Kim replied from her station. Her fingers danced across the control panel, making final adjustments to the experimental technology. "Power flow is stable. We're as ready as we'll ever be, Captain." The Pathfinder was Earth's most advanced ship, built for this single purpose: to break through the mysterious energy barrier that surrounded the galaxy. For centuries, scientists had studied it, but only in the last decade had they developed theories about crossing it. Science Officer Tahoe Lee frowned at his readings. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy patterns in the barrier. The quantum field shows fluctuations that weren't in our simulations." "Dangerous?" Ju asked sharply. Tahoe shook his head. "Unknown. But if we abort now, we may not get another chance for months." Ju nodded and turned to Navigator Doyan Kang, who was intensely focused on his calculations. "I found our entry point," Doyan announced. "A weak spot where the barrier's energy is less dense. If we hit it at precisely the right angle and speed, the breach drive should create a tunnel just large enough for us to pass through." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew the risks. 3 unmanned test ships had been sent toward the barrier before. 2 were destroyed instantly. The 3rd disappeared without a trace. "Communications Officer Sunmiyu, send our final status report to Earth Command," Ju ordered. Sunmi nodded, her face solemn. "Transmitting now, Captain. They wish us luck." Ju looked at each crew member. They were the best Earth had to offer. Brilliant scientists and explorers who had volunteered for a mission that might end in death. But if they succeeded, they would go down in history as the first humans to leave the Milky Way. "This is what we trained for," she said. "Every test, every simulation, every sleepless night has prepared us for this moment. Humanity has looked up at the stars for thousands of years. Today, we go beyond even those dreams." The crew straightened in their seats, drawing strength from her words. "Begin approach sequence," Ju commanded. The Pathfinder's engines hummed as they powered up to full capacity. The ship moved forward slowly at first, then with increasing speed toward the shimmering wall. "Barrier breach drive activation in 10 seconds, announced Hana. "All crew, brace for impact," Ju ordered through the ship-wide comm system. "We don't know what this will feel like." The countdown began. Ju gripped her chair and fixed her eyes on the barrier. 3, 2, 1. Drive activated. A deep vibration ran through the ship as the breach drive fired. A beam of concentrated energy shot from the front of the Pathfinder, striking the barrier. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a sheet of silk being torn apart, the barrier split open. The ship lunged forward into the gap. Alarms blared as the hull creaked under the strain. The lighting flickered, plunging the bridge into darkness before emergency power kicked in. "Hull integrity at 60% and dropping," shouted Security Chief Shunoba. "Maintain course," Ju ordered. "Keep the drive running at full power." The ship shuddered violently. Crew members held on as the artificial gravity fluctuated. Sparks flew from several control panels. Through the view screen, they could see only swirling chaos. Not quite energy, not quite matter. "We're losing main power," Hannah shouted over the noise. "The drive can't hold much longer." Jumu felt her heart sink. Had they come so far only to fail? Divert all remaining power to the drive. Everything else is secondary. The lights dimmed further as power was redirected. The life support warning began to sound, but Ju ignored it. They had minutes of oxygen in reserve. If they didn't break through now, extra air wouldn't matter anyway. "Drive at 110% capacity," Hannah reported. "It's overloading." Just a little more, Ju whispered. With a final violent jerk, the Pathfinder burst through the other side of the barrier. The alarms suddenly silenced. The chaos on the view screen cleared. Before them stretched an endless vista of unfamiliar stars, brighter, closer, and arranged in patterns no human had ever seen before. A nearby nebula glowed with colors that seemed impossible. We did it, Tahoe said in awe. The crew stared in stunned silence as the ship drifted forward, the first human vessel to enter another galaxy. Damage report, Ju finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Systems coming back online, Hannah replied. The drive is damaged but intact. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4, but the automated seals are holding. Ju nodded and stood up. Send a message to Earth. Tell them we've broken through. Humanity has left the Milky Way. The bridge erupted in cheers and tears as the reality of their achievements sank in. They had done the impossible. And somewhere out there, among those alien stars, waited discoveries beyond imagination. The Pathfinder drifted silently through the unfamiliar galaxy. The crew had spent 2 days running tests and repairs after their dramatic passage through the barrier. Captain Ju Park hadn't slept more than 3 hours at a stretch, too excited and worried to rest properly. Captain, you should see this, called Science Officer Jun Choi, her voice tight with excitement. Sensors are picking up an artificial structure ahead of us. Ju rushed to Jun's station. The readings were clear. Something built, not natural, floated in space about 2 light hours away. Are you certain? Ju asked, heart racing. Yes, Captain. It's definitely not a natural formation. The material composition includes alloys and compounds that don't match any known stellar processes. Ju straightened up. Plot a course, Lieutenant Doyun. Best speed. As the Pathfinder moved closer, they got their first visual of the structure. It was enormous. A ring-shaped station with spires extending inward like the spokes of a wheel. The design was both beautiful and strange, with sweeping curves and angles that seemed to defy normal engineering. It's at least 5 kilometers in diameter, Jun reported, and I'm detecting low-level energy readings. Whatever it is, it's still operational. Security Chief Junho frowned. Caution is advised, Captain. We have no way of knowing if it's dangerous. Agreed, Ju said, but we came here to explore. Let's maintain a safe distance and gather data. Minji, see if you can detect any communication signals. Communications specialist Minji Yun nodded eagerly. Already working on it, Captain. For 3 tense days, the Pathfinder circled the alien station. They launched probes and scanned every inch of the structure, careful not to get too close. The crew worked in shifts, analyzing the mountain of data they collected. On the 3rd day, Minji burst onto the bridge, her eyes wide with excitement. Captain, I've done it, she exclaimed. I've managed to decode their basic communication protocols. It's incredible. The crew gathered around as Minji displayed her findings on the main screen. The station has been abandoned for what appears to be over 10,000 years, she explained. But its automated systems are still running. It's some kind of monitoring post, designed to observe and record data about the galactic barrier. Can you access its records? Ju asked. Minji nodded. I'm trying, but there's so much information. What I can tell you is that this station was built by a species that called themselves. She hesitated, struggling with the pronunciation. Well, in our language, it would roughly translate to the Watchers. Science Officer Tahoe looked up from his console. Captain, the station's power output just increased by 20%. I think our probing activated something. Before anyone could respond, the ship's sensors began to blare. Multiple objects approaching at high speed. Do-Yun called out. They appeared out of nowhere. No warp signatures, no distortion fields. On screen, Ju ordered. The view screen showed several silver objects moving toward the Pathfinder. They were smooth, with no visible engines or windows, and they moved in perfect formation. Most strangely, parts of the ships seemed to shift and change, sections rotating and moving without any physical connection to the main body. Red alert, Ju commanded. Shields up. Arm defensive systems, but do not target unless I give the order. The silver ships surrounded the Pathfinder, keeping a distance of about 1 kilometer. They made no aggressive moves, simply holding position. They're scanning us, Tahoe reported. Very detailed scans. They're looking at everything from our hull composition to our DNA. Suddenly, the communication system activated on its own. A voice filled the bridge, neither male nor female, neither young nor old, but clear and precise. We are the Sentinels, guardians of the boundaries between galactic domains. No species has successfully breached a galactic barrier in 50 millennia. Your presence requires explanation. The bridge crew froze. First contact, humanity's dream and nightmare combined. Ju took a deep breath and stepped forward. This is Captain Ju Park of the Earth vessel TSS Pathfinder. We are explorers from the Milky Way galaxy. We come in peace and with respect. There was a long pause. Your technology is primitive yet effective, the voice finally replied. You have accomplished what many advanced civilizations have failed to do. How did you breach the barrier? Ju glanced at Engineer Hana, who nodded slightly. We developed a drive system that creates a temporary tunnel through the barrier's energy field, Ju explained. It was theoretical until we tested it. Another pause. Interesting. Unconventional approach. Your species shows creativity. The silver ships began to move, rearranging themselves around the Pathfinder. You will follow us to the Nexus for evaluation, the voice stated. It wasn't her request. What is the Nexus? Ju asked. The gathering place of galaxies. The record keeper, the decision maker. A brief pause. Your species' future will be determined there. Ju looked at her crew, seeing her own mix of fear and excitement reflected in their faces. They had come to explore the unknown, and now the unknown was taking them deeper into mystery. We will follow, she said, making the biggest decision of her life. Lead the way. The journey took 7 days. The Pathfinder followed the silver ships through empty space, traveling farther from the Milky Way than any human had ever gone. The crew spent the time in a mixture of fear and wonder. Look at that, whispered Navigator Doyan as he stared at the view screen. Before them hung a structure so massive it made the Pathfinder seem smaller than a dust speck. It floated in the dark void between galaxies, a place where stars were just distant smudges of light. The structure looked like a giant snowflake made of glowing crystal, with branches stretching out for thousands of kilometers. The Nexus, announced the voice of the Sentinels through their communication system. Approach central docking area and prepare for arrival. Captain Ju turned to her crew. I want volunteers only for the first contact team. We don't know what awaits us inside. Every hand on the bridge went up. Ju smiled despite her nervousness. Hana, Tahoe, Minji, you're with me. The rest of you will monitor from the ship. The docking process was automatic. The Pathfinder was guided into a crystalline bay that sealed around them. Scans showed breathable air outside. This doesn't make sense, Tahoe said, checking his readings. The atmosphere is perfectly matched to Earth's. How could they know? They exited through the airlock and stepped onto a smooth pearl-colored floor. The walls shimmered with soft light that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere. Welcome, travelers, came a gentle voice. Before them, the air began to glow. The light gathered and shaped itself into a humanoid form, not solid, but made of swirling colored energy. The being had no clear face, but somehow they felt it was looking at them. I am Gina, the light being said. I will be your guide in the Nexus. Minji stepped forward, her translator device ready. We. No need for that, Gina interrupted. We understand all languages. Please, follow me. They walked through corridors that seemed to shift and change as they moved. Sometimes the walls were solid, sometimes transparent, showing views of distant galaxies. Other beings of light passed them, their forms varying in color and shape. "What are you?" Hannah finally asked. "We are what you might call evolved beings," Jinna replied. "Most of us once had physical forms, but we transcended them long ago. We are representatives of the intergalactic consortium, those who observe and maintain the great design." They entered a vast circular chamber. In the center floated a three-dimensional model of countless galaxies, each one tiny but perfect in detail. "This is our mapping room," Jinna explained. "From here, we observe all known galaxies." "There are so many," Ju whispered, feeling smaller than she ever had before. "Yes, and each one is sealed by barriers like the one you breached." "But why?" asked Tahoe. "Why keep galaxies separated?" Jinna's form pulsed slightly. "Each galaxy is an evolutionary chamber. The barriers were established billions of years ago to ensure that life would develop along unique paths in each galaxy. Isolation creates diversity. Diversity creates strength." "Who built the barriers?" Hannah asked. "Those who came before us. We merely maintain what they created." Jinna led them deeper into the nexus, to a section where the walls were lined with what looked like pools of liquid silver. "This is the Library of Galaxies, a repository of all knowledge from millions of civilizations across billions of years." "How do we access it?" Minji asked eagerly. "Like this." Jinna waved what might have been a hand, and small silver devices floated toward each human. "These neural interfaces will allow you to experience the information directly." The humans looked at each other nervously before placing the devices on their temples. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Information flooded into their minds. Images, concepts, histories, sciences, all somehow organized so they could understand it without being crushed by its volume. Juwu saw the rise and fall of civilizations older than Earth's sun. Tahoe absorbed scientific principles that made Earth's physics seem like a child's toy. Minji experienced languages that used light, scent, and gravity as much as sound. Hana witnessed technologies that manipulated the fabric of reality itself. Hours passed as they floated in the sea of knowledge. When the interfaces finally deactivated, the humans stood in stunned silence. "This is..." Juwu couldn't find words. "Remarkable," Jinna said, observing them closely. "Your minds process the information differently than any species we've encountered. Most visitors focus on specific areas of knowledge, but you made connections between unrelated fields." "Is that unusual?" asked Tahoe. "Very. Your cognitive patterns are unique," Jinna explained, her form shifting like shimmering water as she moved around them. "Humans combine logic and intuition in ways unseen elsewhere. You make intuitive leaps that defy proper reasoning, yet often arrive at correct conclusions." "That's just how we think," Hannah said with a shrug. "Perhaps, or perhaps it is why you were able to breach the barrier when other, more technologically advanced species failed. You saw a solution they could not imagine." Jinna paused. "This adaptability may prove valuable in the times ahead." "What do you mean, times ahead?" Juwu asked, suddenly alert. Jinna's form dimmed slightly. "The Consortium Council wishes to speak with you. Your arrival has complicated matters." "Complicated how?" pressed Juwu. "Some believe the barriers should remain unbroken. Others see potential in new connections, and there are those who fear what your breach might have let in." "Let in?" Minji asked. "Let what in?" Jinna's form pulsed with what might have been concern. "There are things that exist in the spaces between galaxies, things that have been kept at bay by the barriers for eons. Your tunnel may have created an opening for them as well." The humans exchanged worried glances as Jinna led them toward a grand doorway. "The Council awaits. They will decide the fate of your species, and perhaps all galaxies." The humans spent 3 cycles at the Nexus, each cycle equivalent to roughly 20 Earth hours. They learned more about the universe in those 3 days than humanity had discovered in its entire history. The consortium provided them with quarters that adjusted to match Earth conditions, though the furniture was strange. Half-solid energy that molded itself to their bodies when they sat down. Juwu and her crew spent most of their time in the library, absorbing knowledge through the neural interfaces. They were careful to focus on practical information they could bring back to Earth: sustainable energy, medical advances, and faster space travel. The Consortium Council had not yet decided whether to allow them full access to all knowledge. "I feel like a child who found her way into the adults' room," Hannah told Juwu as they rested between library sessions. "There's so much to learn, but I'm not sure we're ready for all of it." "We have to be," Juwu replied. "We may only get this one chance." On the third cycle, the crew was startled by a loud, pulsing tone that seemed to come from the structure itself. The walls flashed with red light. Gina appeared in their quarters, her energy form flickering more rapidly than usual. "You must come quickly. The council has called an emergency session." They rushed through the corridors of the Nexus, passing many light beings who moved with obvious urgency. When they reached the council chamber, a vast hall with tiered seating for hundreds of energy beings, they found it in chaos. At the center of the chamber stood a tall being whose energy glowed a deep blue. Unlike the others, this being's form was more defined, with something resembling a face and robed body. "This is Elder Sungo," Gina explained, one of the oldest members of the consortium. Sungo raised what might have been arms, and the chamber fell silent. When he spoke, his voice was deep and seemed to vibrate in the human's bones. "We have detected movement in the void," he announced. "The breach in the Milky Way barrier has been sensed by the void devourers." Murmurs spread through the gathered beings. "What are void devourers?" Tahoe whispered to Gina. "Ancient entities that exist in the dark space between galaxies," she replied. "They feed on stellar energy and matter. They are drawn to any weakness in the barriers." Elder Sungo continued. "Our sensors confirm they are moving toward the breach point. If they enter the Milky Way galaxy, they will begin consuming stars. Billions of lives could be lost." The council erupted in debate. Many energetic beings spoke at once, their forms pulsing with different colors as they argued. "The solution is clear," said one bright yellow being. "We must seal the breach permanently." "Agreed," said another. "The humans' galaxy must be isolated again to protect all other galaxies." Juwu stepped forward, her face pale but determined. "May I speak?" The chamber fell silent as all attention turned to the human captain. "Elder Sungo, honored council members, I understand your concern. But sealing our galaxy would condemn humanity to isolation just when we've discovered we're not alone. We cannot accept that fate. You would risk your entire galaxy," challenged a red-hued being. "No," Juwu replied firmly. "We would fight to protect it. Humanity has survived against terrible odds throughout our history. We've overcome challenges that should have destroyed us. We deserve the chance to join you as equals, and we will defend our home." The council members conferred among themselves, their light forms blending together in what seemed to be their version of private communication. Finally, Elder Sungo spoke again. "The human speaks with courage, but courage alone cannot stop the devourers. They exist partially outside normal spacetime. Our weapons have limited effect on them." Engineer Hannah stepped forward, her eyes bright with sudden inspiration. "What if we could modify our barrier breach technology? If it can create a tunnel through the barrier, perhaps it could also seal one." "Explain," Sungo demanded. "Our drive works by creating specific energy patterns that temporarily neutralize the barrier's quantum field. If we reverse the process and amplify it, we could potentially create energy distortions that would repel these devourers." Tahoe caught on to her idea. "And if we added what we've learned about the barrier's construction from your library, we might be able to strengthen the original barrier itself." The energy beings buzzed with discussion. Gina moved close to the humans. "This is unprecedented," she said. The consortium has never collaborated with a pre-ascension species on defense technology. Is that good or bad? Minji asked. Unknown. But Elder Sungo seems intrigued. Indeed, the blue being had moved closer to them, studying them with what felt like intense focus. Your proposal has merit, he finally said, but it would require sharing sensitive knowledge about the barriers. Some on the council will object. With all respect, Elder, Ju said, you don't have much choice. The breach exists because of us. We should help fix the problem. For long moments, Sungo was silent. Then his form seemed to grow brighter. I will support your proposal before the council, he decided. But understand this. If we fail, the consortium will have no choice but to destroy the breach completely, even if that means destroying your ship and everyone aboard. Ju nodded solemnly. We understand the stakes. The council debate lasted hours. The humans waited anxiously, knowing that the fate of not just their mission, but potentially their entire galaxy hung in the balance. Finally, Elder Sungo approached them. The council has decided, he said. We will attempt your plan. 2 consortium scientists will accompany you back to the breach point. You have 1 standard rotation to prepare. As they returned to their quarters to plan, Hana pulled Ju aside. Captain, I know my idea sounded confident, but I need to be honest. I'm not sure it will work. The theory is sound, but... Ju squeezed her engineer's shoulder. I know. But right now, a chance is better than no chance at all. We'll make it work, Hana. We have to. The Pathfinder raced back toward the Milky Way with 2 consortium representatives aboard. They were not quite like the other energy beings. They had taken more solid forms that resembled tall, slender humans made of blue-white light. They called themselves Seojin and Yuna. Your ship is impressive for such young technology, Seojin told Hana as they studied the barrier breach drive. But it will not be enough as it is. The consortium beings worked alongside the human crew for the 3-day journey. They touched the ship's systems with their energy forms, and the metal seemed to change under their touch. The hull began to glow with faint patterns. The engines hummed with new power. What are you doing to our ship? Tahoe asked, fascinated and a little worried. We are helping it evolve, Yuna explained. The materials remember what they want to be. By the time they neared the barrier breach, the Pathfinder had transformed. Its hull now shimmered with the same crystal-like material as the Nexus. The bridge controls had changed too, becoming more responsive to touch and thought. We're picking up strange readings from the breach, Minji reported. Energy patterns unlike anything we've seen before. The Void Devourers, Seojin confirmed. They have found the weakness. On the view screen, the crew saw the breach for the first time from the outside. It looked like a tear in space itself, with jagged edges of purple energy. Around it, dark shapes moved. They weren't quite solid, more like living shadows with tentacles of pure darkness. They consume stars, Yuna explained. They break down matter into energy and absorb it. A single devourer could destroy your solar system in days. Captain Ju straightened her uniform. Then we stop them here. Hana, is the modified drive ready? Hana nodded, her face tight with concentration. As ready as it can be. The consortium upgrades should boost its power tenfold. All hands, battle stations, Ju ordered. This is what we came back to do. The Pathfinder moved closer to the breach. The shadow entities seemed to notice them, several breaking away from the breach to drift toward the ship. They're curious, Seojin said. They haven't encountered a ship like this before. Let's show them why that's a problem for them, Ju replied. Hana, activate the drive. Hana's fingers flew across the new controls. Drive activating. Energy pattern set to repulsion mode. The ship vibrated as the barrier breach drive powered up. It felt different now, smoother but somehow more powerful. Through the view screen, they saw a beam of bright energy shoot from the front of the ship toward the breach. When it hit, something extraordinary happened. The energy spread outward in waves of blue-white light, like ripples in a pond. The shadow entities recoiled as the light touched them. "It's working," Hannah shouted, her eyes wide with excitement. "The quantum field is pushing them back." The shadows writhed as they retreated from the light, but one larger entity moved forward instead, absorbing the energy waves. "The Alpha is resistant," Yuna warned. "It's adapting to the energy pattern." The large shadow entity extended what looked like a claw toward the ship. Where it touched the energy field, darkness spread. "Shields failing in Section 4, reported Tao. "It's eating through our defenses." Juwu turned to Seojin. "We need more power." The consortium being nodded. "We can channel our own energy through your drive, but it might damage your systems." "Do it," Juwu ordered without hesitation. Seojin and Yuna placed their light hands on the drive controls. Their forms dimmed as energy flowed from them into the ship. The Pathfinder's hull began to glow brighter, and the energy beam intensified. The new wave of energy that spread from the ship was different, more complex, with patterns that shifted and changed. The shadow entities couldn't adapt quickly enough. Even the Alpha entity began to retreat. "Modify the field to seal the breach," Hannah suggested. "If we can close it, they'll have no way in." Yuna's form flickered as she adjusted the energy flow. "The breach is beginning to close, but the Alpha is fighting it." The shadow creature threw itself against the closing tear, trying to force its way through. The ship shuddered under the strain of maintaining the energy field. "We need more power," Seojin said. "One final surge." "The drive can't take much more," Hannah warned. "Then we'll give it everything we've got," Juwu decided. "All non-essential systems, power down. Life support to minimum. Route everything to the drive." The lights dimmed throughout the ship. The air grew colder. But the energy beam brightened to an almost blinding intensity. The shadow entity gave one final push against the breach, then recoiled as the energy field flared. The tear in space began to shrink rapidly, its edges sealing together. With a flash of light that temporarily blinded everyone on the bridge, the breach closed completely. The shadow entities drifted away, defeated for now. Seojin and Yuna released the controls, their forms dimmer than before. "It is done," Seojin said. "The breach is sealed, but not in the way the consortium expected. It is changed." Scans showed that where the breach had been, something new had formed, a stable portal, its edges glowing with the same crystalline energy as the Nexus. "What does this mean?" Juwu asked. Yuna's form brightened slightly. "It means you have created something unprecedented, a controlled gateway between galaxies." 3 days later, when the Pathfinder systems had been restored, the consortium representatives called the crew to the bridge. "We have communicated with the Council," Seojin announced. "They have made a decision that has no precedent in our history." "Your species has proven its worth," Yuna continued. "The Council offers humanity the role of guardians of the Milky Way Gateway. Your people will protect and control access to this galaxy. And the Pathfinder crew," Seojin added, "will serve as the first ambassadors to the intergalactic community." 1 year later, Earth had established its first interstellar embassy at the Gateway Point. Ships from various Earth nations trained alongside consortium teachers, learning to navigate the gateway safely. Admiral Juwu Park, promoted after her return, stood before the first graduating class of gateway pilots. Behind her, through the viewports of the new gateway station, the crystalline portal glowed with promise. "Before the Pathfinder's journey, we were alone in the dark," she told the young pilots. "We looked up at the stars and wondered if anyone else was out there. Now we stand at the threshold of infinite discovery. We have friends and teachers among the stars. We have purpose in a universe larger than we ever imagined." She gestured to the portal. "The stars are no longer our boundary. They are merely the beginning. Go forth and make humanity proud." As the ceremony ended, Juwu walked to the observation deck where Hannah waited. Together, they watched as the first official mission beyond the gateway prepared to depart. "Did you ever think we'd end up here?" Hannah asked. Juwu smiled. "No, but that's the beauty of exploration. You never know where you'll end up, only that it will change everything. The end.